So I think it would be more accommodating to the public for the town hall to be open once a week till 6 o'clock at night, and then we can close down early on one day. And that would save money with electricity and utilities and everything else that has to be on when the building's open.
Can I make one comment?
Sure.
This is really a stopgap measure for this coming summer. The CSE contract is up for review in the spring, and this could be negotiated in a number of different ways. But this is just to get us through this year because we did not fund for the overtime. So that's the reason why this thing came up in the first place.
And I have been here several times last summer on Friday afternoons around 3 o'clock, and you know, there was really no members of the public coming in here on the Friday afternoon in July or August. There's no tax deadlines or any real urgency for people to come here on a Friday afternoon.
Okay, noted, Bob, thanks. Would you like to make that motion?
You know, at this point in time, I think let's wait until we need the motion. You know, I can't anticipate the supervisor's non-compliance with his obligations and his oath of office. So let's just see what happens. That's what I think.
I'll second that. Let's move on.
Well, let's authorize someone else. Roger was a member of the union negotiating team. I make a motion. We authorize Councilman Roger Gross to execute the summer hour amendment to the CSEA contract as earlier accepted. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed?
I think the problem is, too, is in some memos that we were told that the CSEA only negotiates with the supervisor as the chief person of the town. So they're not willing to speak to any of us.
Well, my thought is that we leave Town Hall open during business hours. So if there is a thought which is contrary to that thought, then the folks who are responsible for that need to step up to the plate on that.
The thing is, we had passed a resolution, and you as a supervisor have been directed to sign it. Does that mean you're going to violate the resolution? Is that what we're saying here?
Well, Roger, as my mother, God bless her, used to say, if there's a, you know, to paraphrase her, if there were a resolution that, you know, we were supposed to all jump off a bridge, am I going to jump off that bridge? The answer is no.
So you're going to violate a resolution that was approved by the majority of the town board?
Roger, if you want to litigate that, I mean, that's the answer. So my suggestion is that we authorize someone else to incept summer hours regarding this facility.
But the problem is we don't have the money, Michael. Where are we going to pull it out from the sky? I mean,
You pull money out of the sky for other things.
that's a separate. No, we don't pull money out of the sky. We don't have it.
I mean,
We've had this situation before. The bottom line is that the supervisor refused to sign checks of people he doesn't care for and so forth. Others have taken the lead to sign it through accounting. So we can get it done one way or the other.
Roger,
If he's going to violate the resolution, we'll get it done one way or the other.
Okay.
Okay. So I make a motion that we authorize Councilman Cullen to execute this. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, motion defeated. Like you said, Roger, I'm sure you'll find a way to deal with this. Item 16, non-union employee work session. Yes, Andy.
I understand that when we passed all these other resolutions, you very quickly said that the supervisor would notify the county and the supervisor would do this, and you're the chief administrator of the town. And a law has been passed that you're refusing to comply with. Is that my understanding?
Well, sir, that's a legal interpretation, whether there's a law or whether this is an act of a legislative body with a direction.
Are we a democracy?
Andy, make your point.
I'm asking the town board, are we a democracy?
Yes.
Does the majority rule?
Yes.
If the majority passes a law, are they all required to abide by it?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And again, all right.
I have another question.
Yes. Yes.
When we get the sheriff's department.
Mr. Supervisor, earlier in the evening, there were a number of budget transfers on line item number 4. What was the amount of those budget transfers, if you don't mind?
Those transfers.
I can provide you with a copy.
Well, no, it's pertinent to this question here.
They are
Roughly,
they're discreetly noted, but there's approximately one for $30, one for $525. Budget for drainage costs reimbursed by Putnam County East of Hudson funds to the General Fund A, $33,024. Highway Fund DA, that's a budget line DA. Budget for fuel costs reimbursed by the Village of Brewster, $8,721. Budget for snow removal costs reimbursed by Vales Grove, $3,545. Budget for sale of scrap material to Southeast Auto Recycle, $639. Budget for fuel costs reimbursed by various departments, $13,701. All of that in the Highway Fund, the DA line. And then with respect to a special district, the Hillcrest, a special benefit district, the Hillcrest Water District, SW7, budget for transfer to capital project fund to pay capital costs, $28,500. And that's the budget transfers in their entirety.
Okay,
Mr. Buckner?
roughly speaking, I don't need to have it.
You
Roughly
sure?
speaking, with the various needs, there have been found $90,000. On a very rough, as I sat here and calculated as you were reading them off. I really didn't need to know what they were for, just that you've allocated from various other funds of your budget $90,000 for items that they were not originally intended for. So to suggest that you cannot come up with $10,000 for this particular item, I think is disingenuous. There was also a suggestion that was made that the supervisor made a commitment that he was going to be here every hour of the day. I didn't hear that in his tone. I think he said that the supervisor was going to, the supervisor's office would be open. And so to put words in his mouth, Councilman Hudak, I think is very unfair. Thank you.
Excuse me, but, sir, you're not even a resident of the town of Southeast. I think that's,
Okay.
I mean, I appreciate you being here, but you're not a resident of the community, and
Does that mean I'm not entitled to speak? I declared myself, I declared
I
my
wanna hear from the
residency when I
residents, sir.
spoke, excuse me.
All questions through the chair, Roger.
Mr.
And
Chairman,
Tony.
Mr.
Yes.
Supervisor, I think I declared myself as a resident of Carmel when I first spoke up. I happened to be in the audience, and I happened to hear some things that didn't sound correct. So if you're suggesting I should keep my mouth shut because you don't want to hear some counterpart to your arguments, then let the public hear
no,
that.
I think
Thank you.
probably you ought to go to the town board meetings in Carmel and express your concerns for there.
If
And
I
leave our
could-
meetings to our
Councilman-
residents.
Councilman
Thank you.
Pelley, Councilman
Right,
Clark.
Tony, if I could just clarify, you're correct, we could come up with the 10,000 if we had them. I'm not going to say we don't have it. We do have different funds, such as the train station lot, where we could transfer money. The point is, I don't think it's necessary, the majority of the board doesn't think it's necessary to have people here on a Friday afternoon when no business really gets transpired. I think the money could be spent on more important things at this point. And like I said, this is only an issue because the supervisor signed this contract with the union a couple of years ago, and we're forced into paying overtime to keep the offices open. And like I said, I think it would be more beneficial going forward, and I would probably support something to keep the town hall offices open on like a weeknight till 6 o'clock at night. That would give people who work in the city and White Plains and different locations more time to get here. Because if you work in New York City, you know, unless you leave way early, you're not going to get here by 4:30.
Councilman Cullen, just to make the record clear, the negotiating committee for the union contract was comprised of me and Councilman Gross and others. And at the time, we agreed on the wisdom of keeping the town hall facilities open, albeit with a skeleton crew, to minimize overtime during business hours. So that's where we were, and if that's at a dissonance with where you are, then there we are.
And you know, it's important to note that we laid off a lot of people in this town. And right now, I heard this evening that through this septic, the new septic law, there's going to be more of a burden on our zoning enforcement officer. Well, we only have one, and we did that because of cuts. Other employees were reinstated by virtue of majority votes of the board to a large amount of money. And you know, the real problem here is we don't have the money, and we have to allocate it carefully. With the additional 10,000, I'd like to add up our money so we can get another zoning enforcement officer back, because I think that's important. We laid off a highway worker. We laid off a worker in the building department. These are all people who I would rather have than to have an issue regarding 3 hours in the afternoon, or 3 hours in the afternoon, or 2.5 hours in the afternoon during the summer. because I think it's more important that we have the bodies here. And once again, if the supervisor's going to be here on those Friday afternoons, then that's great, because he can still attend to the needs of the townspeople. And I know he's going to honor his pledge to do that, because he'll be here every Friday afternoon in the summer. I'm sure he'll have a couple of weeks vacation. But that's important. And who knows? You know, there might be other people here. But the point really is the 10,000 is going to be better spent somewhere else at this time.
I would just add to that, item 18 on the agenda, we have a leaky roof here, which is going to cost about $18,000. We have to acquire funds to do that. I mean, that's got to be done. This back wall is basically rotting, so we have some work to do.
Yeah,
Why don't we just
not to
close on
dilate this
Monday?
conversation, but there is an additional point to be made, and that is that this town board, 3-2, canceled the July 4th fireworks to save $7,500 this year. And now they're canceling keeping this facility open during business hours. And in contrast, there is money to pay legal fees for this garbage contract appeal for the former client of Vincent Libel's law firm, which is receiving an overpayment of $857,000 in 3 years. Now, that's outrageous on its face.
I would just comment on that, the story that we've all heard multiple times, that we would not be having to pay for a special attorney if the supervisor had not encouraged the garbage company in question to sue the town at a public meeting, which is reprehensible.
And I'd like to note that the money comes out of the special garbage district monies. It's not out of the town monies. And as long as we're going to throw around all this again, Nancy Kalbfeld, who is the town, at that point, just the town supervisor's secretary, was rehired.
Not
Cost 20, it was. She was rehired as full-time at a cost of over $20,000 plus perks. And that was voted on. So there's $20,000 plus. And now she's also the town board secretary as well as the supervisor's secretary. And all I can
She was
suggest
all
to you,
along.
and all I can say, no, she wasn't, but I'm not going to go there. The bottom line is there were allocations made, and now to second-guess this, I think right now is the money went, okay, fine and dandy, but what we have is we have to look at all of these allocations in a very specific way, and once again, it's a stopgap measure. It's one summer. If the taxpayers are upset about it, we'll hear it at budget time. If you were here during the budget hearings, you heard a lot of taxpayers saying they did not want any increases. So if the taxpayers now believe that they want this town hall open, they should make their voices heard. Come here, tell us that you want to spend the $10,000 plus, although I'm fairly hopeful that with the new negotiations, we may not have this issue, because it'll be approached in a different fashion. But if that happens, please, everyone, come voice your concerns and say you want town hall to remain open in the summer with more people present than just the supervisor.
Mr. Supervisor, I don't want to beat this, but these are your tax dollars. Town hall should be open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, period. All right? It's not a matter if it's garbage contract money or non-garbage contract money. It's your money coming into town hall and how we disperse it. You don't go to A&P and say, you know, we want you open on Sunday at 9 o'clock. We are a business, a service business, and we are to service the community. And that's the bottom line, and that's what this debate is here all evening. All right? I don't care what the county does and their summer hours. I'm concerned about our residents in this community, that if they knock on the door at 3 o'clock on a Friday, despite the fact that Mr. Cullen says, well, nobody's here on Friday, I want the doors open in case one person in this community decides to knock on the door on a Friday afternoon in August. And we are here to service them. And that's our business.
But
I was a police, Ms. Hudak, please. I was a police officer for many years. There were many times when we were open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we not even dream of locking that door because we service the community. And that's what the job of this community is all about. And my job is to make sure your dollars are spent wisely. And these doors should stay open.
But
And that's what your tax dollars are paid for.
But I recollect that
Councilwoman Hudak.
Councilmember Yee was in the majority and voted back in the salary of the Secretary, Nancy
We're not
Kalbfeld,
talking
at the
about the
cost
secretary's
of
salary.
$20,000.
Okay.
So at that
Councilwoman
point in
Hudak,
time,
subject to Robert
please,
Rules of